We all have a sense of who we are on the surface and the physical, what we like, what we desire, how we act, and what we eat, and so on. But when we start to question who we are on the inside, where our thoughts come from, why we act the way that we act, we start feeling a bit confused. Because who actually are we? So let's ask that question. Who are you? We use the word I quite often. I mean, there has to be an I that experienced the childhood, the I that has memories, an I that has interests. Here are the three most important aspects that structure the I: memories, strategies, and ideals. Let's start off with memories. Since there are memories, we believe that there is someone who has lived through them all. Looking more deeply into this, it's actually quite difficult to compare the I that used to play as a child, the I that had insecurities as a teenager, and the I that got into that one relationship. Yet, we still believe that there is a certain someone who had lived through them all. Strategies. Since the I does not have any fixed reality, it is very fragile. We constantly have to maintain it. That's when we develop strategies to preserve and protect it. We get taught strategies from a very young age, and these strategies help us to survive, both in an individual and a social way. The child learns both what to do to fulfill its needs and what the society expects from it. The I is something that everyone must have. Without the sense of I, we can get very, very lost. Ideals. The I is identified with beliefs, ideas, and ideals. An ideal is a principle that sets a high standard for behavior. Examples of some ideals are the ideal vacation location spot, the ideal meal, an ideal grade to pass. Together, beliefs, ideas, and ideals create a filter through which we see the world. As the I has no real existence and it is fragile, our ideals become important to us to hold up. And that's when we start striving for things, have goals, aspirations that are socially acceptable. Now let's talk about the I identification. Let's divide it into three layers: the personality, the individuality, and the sense of I. Personality. The personality is all of our roles. It's much easier to see through the personality of a person. It is relatively different from the individuality because it's the way we act, react, feel, and think. Individuality. We really are very different to one another and very unique in our own ways, like the leaves on the trees, the clouds in the sky, and the shells on the beach. There is no other person that's like you, because the divine never repeats itself. The sense of I. The sense of I is that undefinable feeling of me. The I cannot stop the feeling of itself. The sense of I cannot be pushed away or suppressed, like we do with our feelings. No matter how much you try, there will always be a sense of I. So, who am I? To know who we are, we must first find out what we are not. We are not the body, the feelings, the thoughts, the time, the space. The quicker we understand that we are neither this nor that, the quicker we will reach our goals for our longings and realize that we are that timeless being which in fact cannot be captured in any definition at all, no matter how spiritual awakened you are. It's very easy to associate and define ourselves with the individuality because we are very obviously different to each other. But the stronger we define ourselves with the individuality, the personality, ideas, and ideals that we have of ourselves, the harder it will be to let go in any given moment when something doesn't go as planned. To find out who we are, we first need to start asking ourselves where the thoughts that we get actually come from. Who is it that thinks of it all? What is that voice in your little head? It's these simple questions that help us break out of our usual cycle of living and go completely against the grain. Your physical mind will try its best to identify you. But I got hurt by that person. But I am obviously you right now. Don't question me. But wait, who is the I? What is that voice in my head? Who is speaking right now? An activity that helps you find out where everything is actually rooted from, where the thoughts come from, the feelings, is meditation. When you meditate, you become so aware of all your thoughts and distractions. You try your best to stop your mind and actually ask yourself these little questions. And then you finally get yourself to that space of blankness, a totally white screen. The solitude and the silence of the mind is who we actually are. Everything else is just built around it. So now go and ask yourself, who am I?